Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, my name is Tori and I make book related videos. So this is it. These are the most disappointing books that I have read in 2019. These are the books that have stayed with me pretty much all year long for all the wrong reasons. I have about 5 books to share with you guys, and let's take a trip down the bad books of 2019. So the first book making this list is actually the first one that I started 2019 with, and that's The Lion Game, and this is by Ruth Ware. And at this point, aside from her latest novel, I think The Turning Key or Turn of the Key, something like that, I've read all of Ruth Ware's books. And this one, The Lion Game, is probably my least favorite one. When I finished this book, I thought it was just okay, but the longer, this is probably not a good thing that I started the year with this, because the longer this book has sat with me throughout the year, the more I'm just like, no, just no. This book is, of course, a thriller. That's her genre. And in it, we have this, I have forgotten these characters' names. It's probably true for all of these books I'm going to mention because I read them so long ago. But our main character, she's a new mom, and she gets this message in the middle of the night from an old friend of hers from school telling her to come back to this house on the coast where they all used to spend their time after school and things like that. And so, of course, the main character, she picks up in the middle of the night and she goes and she finds that all of her friends have returned to this house as well, because a secret has been uncovered that really threatens all of their lives now. So this book is just so melodramatic. I did not care for it overall. I don't believe I figured out the secret right away. I think I was actually surprised by what happened, but just the journey getting there, I was just like, oh, Ruth Ware, goodness. What really bothered me about this book is how heavy-handed the themes were. Like, it's called The Lion Game, and we're just getting all the time how much these women are liars and just how much they feel bad about lying and how much they don't want to lie anymore, and just we're just such bad people. It's like, I get it. Great. I don't need to see it. I don't need to read about it every 5 sentences. This next one, you guys, this, honestly, if you've seen at least one video of mine from earlier this year, you probably already know what this one is, and that is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. I did not care for this book at all. This, you know what, that's not 100% true, because I was actually enjoying this book maybe for the first 150-ish pages. I thought it was so strong. I thought the world building was fantastic, but oh my god, the writing in this is just so convoluted. It's so dense. I felt like, for the sake of density and convolutedness, is that a word? We're gonna make words up. Black Leopard, Red Wolf is an African-inspired fantasy novel, and we have this main character named Tracker who gets wrapped up in this group to go find this child who has gone missing. But on the first chapter, you find out that the child that they're looking for is already dead. So the story really becomes one of this grand journey of how we got to the point that we're in now. And we have just so many narratives happening. It's a story within a story, because Tracker is telling someone what happened, and within that we just get so many snippets of Tracker's life, which I actually found really interesting, but I just found it to be really dense, and I think it took away from a lot of what this story is and what it could have been. There's so many strong themes in here about the relationship between fathers and sons, and young men coming into their sexuality and that kind of thing. And it's so many really great things that need to be discussed, and Marlon James just knows how to handle that really well in his writing. But I just feel like it got really messy as the story progressed, and this is a big book, and it takes a really long time, or at least it took me a long time to read, and by the end of it, I felt like I could have been reading something else. And then the next book that's making this list, of all of the books that I'm going to be talking about, this one right here, this one really just, oh, I don't like this book. I did not like this book, and that is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Oh my god, I should have DNF'd this book so many times. But this is the type of book where you feel like you might miss something if you don't keep reading it. And I feel like I just got suckered in just to keep going and keep going and keep going. And then by the end of it, the book was over. And I was like, I just stuck through this whole book. Oh, fix it, Jesus. So in this, we have this wealthy family is throwing this masquerade party. And their daughter, Evelyn Hardcastle, is going to be murdered at this party. And so the book, our main character, he starts body hopping in the bodies. How do I explain this? He starts body hopping around the guests to find out what actually happened to Evelyn and who did it, and basically uncover the whys and the hows and all that kind of stuff. So it's supposed to be like this fun, or not fun because it is kind of dark, but this murder mystery essentially. And so you're getting the book from the perspective of the different guests and things like that. And I just feel like I was not getting what I wanted out of this book. Like you get into the body of the different guests and you think you're gonna learn something so fascinating, but really you're just basically getting the same event from a different perspective. But if that guest didn't have anything to do with Evelyn's murder, it's basically a pointless chapter. I feel like it's the kind of book where you honestly think like, oh, it's gonna come together. Here we go. And then you just keep reading and like, you're full of disappointment. You're drinking disappointment instead of coffee. That's basically what happens in this book. The end, I will say, okay, I'll give it to Stuart Turton. The ending was interesting, and just the concept of how this character is body hopping was interesting. But the movement of the plot, it was just so stagnant, and I just felt like we were in the bodies of guests that we didn't really need to be in, and it offered nothing to the story. So of all of them on this list, I think this is the one that I'm actually angry that I did not DNF. The rest of them, I'm like, okay, like I finished it, whatever, that's fine. But this one should have been put down a long time ago. The next book making this list, I've lost track. Is this number 4? The next book is Every Heart a Doorway, and this is by Seanan McGuire. And this is the first book in a series, and this book is a novella, actually. Every Heart a Doorway has such an interesting premise as well. This is a fantasy novella, and in it we have these kids who go to these other like fantastical worlds. When they come back to our world, what happens to them? How are they doing? What is their mental well-being like? How are they coping? All that kind of stuff. You have this amazing adventure, and now you're back in this boring world. So there's a school for kids who have ventured to other worlds, and our main character, she goes to this school, she gets this roommate, starts settling in, that kind of thing. And she finds out some of the worlds her classmates and stuff have been to. And I mean, that whole thing is so interesting. I think the creativity behind this book was just incredible, because you do have so many of these fantasy worlds, and you have these students trying to get back to them, and some of them were really well respected in these worlds. And so, it's really interesting. Something happens at this school, someone is brutally murdered, and that kind of sets things into motion, and everybody at the school is in danger. This book, there's a disconnect somewhere with this book. I still can't put my finger on what it is, but I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was, to be a novella, I thought it was slow. I'm like, I shouldn't be feeling like I want this to be over with, and it's like under 200 pages essentially. Gosh. And then we have a lot of diversity in this book, but in so many instances it really just felt so forced. It felt like diversity for the sake of diversity. I totally lost interest after a while. So that's really all I can say about that. And then the last book that is making this list is The Circle, and this is by Dave Eggers. And I love the whole idea behind this. That is really what drew me into this book. We have this young woman named May, and she is a recent college graduate, and she gets the opportunity of a lifetime basically to get an entry-level position at this tech company called The Circle. And they are everywhere. They control basically almost every aspect of your life. And May starts off in the entry level, and as she works her way up through the ranks in The Circle, the pressure of the job and just how involved The Circle is in her life begins to take a toll on her mental health, emotional health. It begins to affect her relationships, and you just really start to see this young woman's life start to crumble around her because of the job that she has and the effect that The Circle has in her life. And I loved that. However, the disconnect that I had with this book is you have so many horrible things happening to this woman and to the people in her life around her. And it really feels like they're happening to like cardboard cutouts. It's just, there's nothing happening in here. It's like, it almost just like flies right over their head. It's something really, in my opinion, really traumatic happened to May in this book. And there's just no emotion there. It's like, are the lights on? Like what is going on here? So I mean, these characters, the way they react and respond to things is so interesting. It's like they're not even fully formed characters. Essentially, conversations that are happening between characters are just dry, and there's no tension, no emotion there. After a while, that kind of started to weigh on me. I'm like, I'm not buying this like at all. This is supposed to be a metaphor somewhere that I'm missing. Yeah, that's it for me, you guys. Those are all the books that I did not really care for this year. Let me know down in the comments, what are some of the books that you found a little disappointing this year? And I'm excited because the next video, I don't know when it's going to go up, but the best books of 2019 are on the way. And they are going to be, I think it's going to be an amazing, amazing list. I'm not sure how many are going to make the list because so far at the time of this filming, I've read 62 books, and I think before the year is over, I can get that to 66 because I'm almost done with one and I'm going to be starting another. So I think it's going to go up a little bit more, but of those 62 books, there are some just mind-blowing, incredible, fantastic books in that list. So be on the lookout for the best of 2019 because that's going to be a crazy video. But until then, catch you guys later. Take care.